Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the Cultural Subcommittee meeting to order. Thank you all for being here. Would the clerk please call the roll? Here.
Council Leahy. Here. Council Mercia.
Here.
3 present.
Thank you. Let me also recognize Councilor Belanger and Councilor Samaras, and our city manager, Kevin Murphy, is here this evening as well. We're here this evening as a result of a motion filed by Mayor Elliott and seconded by Councilor Kennedy. Request City Council discuss feasibility of the city, along with COOL, coordinating an art festival in downtown Lowell, and refer issue to the Arts and Culture Subcommittee. So again, that's why we're all gathered here tonight. And again, thank you all. I see a lot of familiar faces in the audience. Thank you for being here. So at this point, if it's okay with the subcommittee, I'd like to recognize City Manager Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. What we've done is, and Sue Halter has been the lead on this from our Office of Cool and Case, is what we've done is we've taken some existing functions that we have in the springtime of the year, and we've tried to bring them together and add something to it as an example of what we could do in the springtime. We're calling it the Spring Fling. Obviously, I'm going to turn it over to Sue, who will make the presentation. And then if you have, we're always open to comments for additions, deletions, whatever anybody thinks is appropriate, because obviously we don't have a monopoly on ideas. But we also look at this as a beginning, is since we really haven't done something of this magnitude in the past, I think it's a good start, and we can add to it in the future if we can't get it done this year. But I'd like to at least start with a presentation by Sue Halter, and then we can open it up for questions. Thank you.
We will have a public portion of the agenda, and we'll certainly recognize those of you that would like to weigh in on this presentation. So, the chair recognizes Susan Halter.
Thank you. Oh, can you hear me? Yeah. So, and I also want to build on what the city manager just said. We recognize that a lot of you came to talk about an arts festival, a pure arts festival. On short notice, the city managers were working off our master plan, which suggests that we promote more heavily what's already going on in the city and support organizations that are already doing events. That's one of the things we wanted to think about as an interim measure. As the city manager said, this could grow, this could morph into something else, so we're looking forward to everybody's comments. But in terms of doing something this year, and doing something fairly quickly, the city manager actually came up with a great title of Spring Fling. And the idea is that we'd be promoting current events to build audience for events that are already happening in the city. And they told me that this was going to work, and it doesn't, so I'm going to just yell. TV, sorry TV. Okay, so the idea is that rather than create a new event, as I said, with additional staffing and funding needs, that we would focus on enhancing what is already here. We have so many great events going on. We have so many great people in the creative community building events. We'd love to support those rather than start competing against those. So on May 16th, you may or may not know, we do Doors Open Lowell, which is an annual event in the city, which showcases not only some of our historical cultural buildings, but it also is an opportunity for some of our developers to showcase their new buildings and apartments that are available in Lowell. So it's a big event, draws a lot of people from throughout the Merrimack Valley. That weekend also this year happens to coincide with the Mill City Skillshare. I think this is the 3rd year of Mill City Skillshare. It's a great event where people all over the city offer up their skills to share them for free with other people, so you can learn everything from bike mechanics to how to make Chinese noodles. It's a fun event. It's very much in keeping with some of our newer organizations like Lowell Makes and New Vestures. That's going on at the same day. It's also the UMass Lowell commencement, so we're going to have a lot of outer-towners looking for things to do that day. And one of the things that the city manager has introduced to it, he's reached out to Dave Drynan, who is the artist in residence right now at the Whistler House Museum of Art, to talk about bringing plein air painters, which are people who paint from life outdoors, down to enhance this festival. Dave was actually in the process of organizing a big group to come to Folk Festival this year, and he was very excited by the idea of bringing a smaller group to this event. possibly, we talked initially with Steve Stoll from Doors Open Lowell about, are you taking away my little clicker? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Constant technological challenges here. This one doesn't, oh, it does work. Steve Stoll to put the painters directly at the locations. I think they may sit as a group somewhere in the city. We've already booked the Cool Bus so that the Cool Bus is going to travel through Doors Open, through Mill City Skills, past the plein air painters so that people can get around the city and see these different ventures. And Mill City Grows is actually doing a growing event as part of Mill City Skillshare, but it's also an opportunity to focus on them and focus on all the work that they do in the city and their gardens, and if you haven't gotten your plot, and if you haven't bought your food share this year. So it allows us to plug a lot of things at once. And at least Mill City Skillshare and Doors Open, even though Steve does his own fundraising around this event, both have fairly tight budgets. So we're hoping to enhance the, well, you'll see in the next slide. Present the multiple events as Spring Fling, promote them with radio advertising, additional print advertising, highlight them on Lowell.org as we do for city events, Winterfest, those kind of things, and cross-promote with the UMass Lowell commencement so that we can build the audience for these events. Benefits, it doesn't take funding away from other events or community events that people might want to organize. It builds audience for events that we already have going on, that have been going on for years and will continue. It does not require additional staffing, and it promotes Lowell as this active, vibrant city with a lot of things going on, a lot of different activities for different age groups. Spring Fling, a celebration of history, art, and community. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
That's the idea. It's about repackaging. As I mentioned before, it's part of the master plan that we should really be supporting what's going on here and building those events to be stronger events. It's I think, a great interim plan for this year.
Thank you. Do members of the subcommittee have any comments or questions? Councilor Mercia?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know that art is the handmaid of human good. It says so right there, so this is a beautiful thing. And I know that they substituted taking all the mayor's pictures down and putting this much more beautiful artwork up there instead. I was wondering if there's anybody here that is related to that, any of the paintings in this room. Are there any artists in here that, I'd love to come in some Tuesday and see and meet the people that are responsible for doing this artwork, because I don't know all of those people, and I'd like to know, so that's just my dream. But I'm glad. This is a wonderful motion by the mayor, who incidentally is across the hall at another meeting trying to figure out where they're going to put a monument for the Cambodian people, so, or else he would be here himself. But I want to thank you for making our city so beautiful. I like to see people in the summer just downtown on a chair with an easel and painting outside. That to me is beautiful too. I know you go along the beach sometimes and along the road you see people painting just like that. I don't know why we can't do that in here. I think because people would stop and look, generate more interest. So this is a very good idea, and it's a good partnership. We in the city endorse it wholeheartedly. So thank you very much for all of you coming here.
Thank you, Councilor Mercia. Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. I just want to thank everybody for coming down tonight. Thank you, Susan, for the presentation, and it's a great start. So this is a good idea to combine all these together, and from here it can only grow, come up with new ideas, and there's always going to be new things to do here in Lowell. So, but it's a great start, and just to touch base with what Councilor Mercia said, we are planning to try to get the artists to come down for sort of like a meet and greet. It's still on the table. We're just waiting to get a couple more pictures hung, and then we were going to do that. So, but so that'll happen soon.
Thank you.
Thanks again for everybody to come down. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Leahy. What I'd like to just ask relative to the date is May 16th. Is that the date you talked about? And that coincides with the UMass Lowell graduation.
It does.
Is there any way that we can reach out to the UMass folks and make sure that whatever information they're mailing out to family members and or on their website, to make sure that they're aware that we have this coordinated effort going on for that specific day?
Yeah, we definitely plan to do that. Thanks to some of the initiatives from the city manager, we've been corresponding regularly with UMass Lowell's
Great.
marketing department about the things that we're doing and the things that they're doing.
Okay.
So we'll reach out to some of those people and see if we can get some flyers out to people.
Terrific, terrific. I think your idea about building audience and making sure that people in the Merrimack Valley really know what's going on that specific date and calling it a spring fling with everybody working together really works well. Mr. Manager?
Yeah, last year, the UMass Lowell graduation was the same day as the Doors Open Lowell, and we actually, it was good, there were a lot of people downtown, so we were able to work with them to take care of it, so I think we can do that again this year.
Great, terrific. Councilor Belanger? And
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too agree with my colleagues. This is a very nice audience here, all here this afternoon for a good cause. And I can't stress enough what a vital catalyst special events are to our downtown. Being there for almost 15 years, I can't stress enough of all our special events, which seems to be rather growing, and this will be hopefully in addition to the list in the very near future. We just got, although Winterfest was extended by 3 weeks, it was still very successful. I talked to a lot of merchants and shops. They did very, very well. So this, I'm sure, will be added to the list, and we'll have weather. We should hopefully have good weather on our side when you're able to walk around and enjoy it. So this is very, very exciting. So, Mr. Chairman, through you to Susan Halter, I like what we're seeing thus far. I like Mr. Manager, the name. Credit to you. And I think with the winter we've had, this will be very, very well received. So Susan, to you, you have about 4 or 5 organizations. We have Mill City Grows, Doors Open Lowell, UML Commencement. Where's the involvement from the artist community here? Did I miss something from the presentation? Or I couldn't see the screen.
Nope, that's, I think, one of the things I tried to address, and I think you'll hear more from the people here in the room, what they'd like in terms of a pure art festival. But as I mentioned, it would be impossible for us to plan an event in just a couple of months, particularly if it's an event that needed additional funding. So the city manager had the idea of bringing in the plein air painting down to this event, so combining it's a great match, really, with the Doors Open Lowell. So yes, to answer your question directly, it's not an art festival, it's more of a cultural event.
Okay.
And so I think you'll find that most of the people who came here tonight came to talk about an arts festival and what that might look like for the future. But as you know, I know we've sat down before, we don't have funding for an arts festival, for an additional festival, nor the staffing to pull one off at this point in the year. And we think the city should do the best job it can. And so by repackaging some things that we're doing and putting a little more promotion behind those, we think that at this late date, that's a good program to follow.
Okay, thank you. I do understand the timing here, but, the intent of the mayor's motion was to incorporate the artist community here in Lowell. We want to give them exposure. So I know, it's a little over, less than 60 days away, quite frankly, but we would like to see them there in some presence. So I'm hoping we can get it done. I know it won't and this will hopefully set the tone for a larger, more successful event next year. So I think it's a great start. I like what we're seeing to this point. But another question I do have, are we planning any street closings or anything like that at this time? Merrimack or Palmer or anything along those lines?
We'd work with the plein air and find out where they'd want to position the artist and then decide what we have to close down.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Manager. This will coincide a motion that Councilor Samaras and myself co-sponsored last fall about closing Palmer Street, a few weekends during the summer months for artists and cultural events. Maybe that would be a good, it's a small footprint. We're going to start small this year, obviously. Maybe that might be a good fit in the interim for this year. So something just to consider. But nonetheless, Susan, great work. You're on top of this. I like what I see, but I think the artists are an important component of this. That's who we want definitely to be part of this. So thank you again.
I don't know if can I respond? Is that allowed? I think you'll hear that people want a strong arts festival. Again, I think that's why most people have come. That's why we've reached out to people to hear a little bit more about what something could look like in the future. And just to respond to your street closing question, I know that Henry Marchand has put together a whole spreadsheet of costs regarding a street festival. I think we're waiting to hear back on whether that's going to be doable for this year.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Belanger. Council Samaras?
Thank you. It's good to see something like this take place. We've had many programs, that the city takes an initiative on, but it's important that the city take an initiative towards the culture and to the arts. And I understand that we just can't do a major art production, but we have a lot of people here who understand what has to happen. And I think from this, I'd like to see two things from tonight. One, that we get some input from the people that are here as to how we can enhance the spring fling. There are probably some other things that can be done at the same time, not to do more than what we can handle, but just to maybe bring in more artists, because we do have people from Western Avenue, we have people from the Whistler House, and see what their input could be. But I'd also like to see a committee work with the subcommittee from now as to really start planning a major art festival. We've talked about it, and we've talked about why we can't do it or having time. And we have to get off the dime, so to speak. So I think the manager's come up with a way of exciting people in the city, a way that we can handle the situation, the way that we can show the arts and the culture, the life of the city. It's important that we show the life of the city. But at the same time, at this point, it's important that people know that as a city, we want to see this art festival take place. We want to see something almost like the folk festival happen in the city. I think it's an economic engine that would have a great return in the city. So I would ask the chairman of this subcommittee if he can help start a committee from this meeting to begin a deliberation on how we'd handle a major art festival. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Samaras. Any other comments from Council Mercia? And then
Thank
we'll
you,
open it
Mr.
up to the
Chairman.
public.
I don't know, maybe what I have to say, you don't have to agree with me, but when I think about art and culture, it isn't only about painting and artwork. To me, I think that someone that can prepare a meal or a soup or a chowder or anything, to me, is a great art. Because if I was preparing it, it wouldn't be an art, but it is an art to me. So that you could probably add on and add people that are artists, people that play instruments, people that, because music is a form of art as well, people that are good culinary artists, cake decorations, all these things, and enhance the businesses that we have in the downtown, and have them come out on the sidewalk if it's a nice day and show their wares and perhaps make some money at the same time. So I don't know, it's just something I'm just tossing out there. You don't have to listen to me, but I'm thinking out loud is what I'm trying to do. Thank you.
Which is perfectly fine. Thank you, Council Mercia. At this point, what I'd like to do is, again, thank you all for coming this afternoon. Yes, I'm sorry, City Manager Murphy.
Yes, like I said at the beginning, this was just a initial opportunity to air something that could happen.
Correct.
And would certainly love to get some ideas from the art community, anybody else, as how we can make this even better than we've presented right here.
Correct. Thank you.
And I don't know, can I respond to Councilor Samaras? Again, you're going to hear from these people here. There is some question next year whether there's going to be a Lowell Open Studios, which is a community-run event by the artists, by the arts organizations. If that doesn't happen, there are people who are talking about changing that into something else. I think you may hear different opinions on whether people want the city to be taking the lead or whether the community should take the lead and the city should provide some of the support that we've talked about in terms of paying for city services and things like that. So I hope you'll be open to potential alternatives to the Special Events Office creating the event.
No, that's the purpose of a meeting like this, to do that.
Okay.
And, no, we have absolute faith in the Special Events Office. But what I'm just saying at this point, you're an office that, as far as I'm concerned, is much underfunded. City manager doesn't want to hear that. But the thing is, I've looked and done some research in those communities that are very successful. They have, in some cases, 5 and 10 people that just work on events like this in order for a city to take a lead. I just want to be sure that people understand that we're here and we're ready, and we're going to try to do our best. So when I raise these type of questions, it's what kind of support as a city council can we give you in working with the community to make it happen? And the only reason I said that for Chairman Milanazzo to look at starting a committee, the whole thing is, we're always so busy, there are so many things that are going on, but I would just want to make sure that the process is in play. So the process could be that the art community takes over completely and you help them with grant funding to obtain to allow them to get their goal accomplished. Or it might be that we have to give you more support in the city to facilitate the movement of something like this in which the programs are successful. I think Mr. Assalit here, that he could point to a lot of the successes that the National Park has. Some, it's completely funded by them and led by them, while others are funded by and led by volunteers and those type of organizations. So in no way am I meant to be critical at this time. I just want to see it happen, and I know you do, and I know I've been to many meetings, and you're always there, representing the city for, in some aspect. So I just want you to make sure that you understand that, because it really, when it comes right down to it, it's the council. We can talk, but sometimes there's a thing we have to walk the talk, so to speak, and give you the support, and give the community the support that they need to get these things done. I don't want to just talk about it. I'd like to see it happen.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Samaras, for those thoughts. At this point, what I'd like to do is open it up to the folks that took time to be here this evening. Thank you so much for being here. You all know that art and culture is very important to the community of Lowell. In fact, it's really one of the economic engines that has driven the community over the last many years, and we just want to see that continue. And I think that was really the emphasis, if you will, behind the mayor's motion to really kind of bring us together, get us out of the doldrums of this past winter and try to come up with an idea. And I think the administration has done that with this idea of a spring fling event on May 16th. But we certainly would, as a committee, like to hear from those of you that are involved in arts and culture here in Lowell, your reaction to the idea of having this event on May 16th and then really growing it into something in the future where it works well for your organizations that you all represent. So with that, I'll be happy to open it up to the public, and if you come to the podium, we would like you to state your name and the organization that you're representing, so the city clerk can make sure you're on record. So at this point, if it's okay with the subcommittee, we'll open it up to the public for comments. Yes. Yeah, no, you can go come up and yeah.
My name is Mary Hart, and I've been organizing Downtown Lowell First Thursdays for the past year. Downtown Lowell First Thursdays sounds like it's perfect for your vision of how to involve many organizations in Lowell, the many organizations that encompass not just art but culture and the businesses downtown. Right now we have our new season starting. We'll have posters out. We're starting on April 2nd. We would love to have the city give us a kind of a little bit of support with the idea that this happens 6 times, starting April 2nd, the first Thursday of every month during the summer. We have 12 institutions and galleries that are open. We have activities for all ages. We have no fees. Everything is free. We have musical performances, and we have partners of 15 businesses that will be involved as well. Celeste Bernardo of the National Parks has been my biggest ally in organizing this because she has seen it be extremely successful in New Bedford, and we would like to repeat that success here. I'm just bringing it up because with your Spring Fling, you're kind of starting from scratch for something new. As an artist, I say, where's the art? Where's the art in the Spring Fling? We have something in place that has a good core of volunteers that deserves support to enliven our downtown. It's what makes New Bedford wonderful, and it could work in Lowell too. So I just wanted to mention that We already have something that is across the board, involves, we reach out to the other cultural groups. The National Park gives us stage space to do performances. We're going to they're breaking out the new movie of the Lowell Park, and there's room for artists throughout. And I'd love to see if this, with the Spring Fling, something that is really, we have lots of artists here. It's what makes Lowell different. Let's figure out a way to use them. That's all.
Okay. Thank you.
I do have schedules if anybody wants.
Perfect. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Council Mercy has a question for you, Mary.
Oh,
Hi, Mary.
hi.
I just wanted to know if we could have your address for the record.
Oh, I live at 200 Market Street. I
Okay,
live in
that's-
downtown Lowell.
That's for the city clerk. And my question is, you
Unit
mentioned...
206, if you want to look me up.
No, I don't really care what your address is,
It might make a difference.
but I'm glad that you're in Lowell. I just wanted to know, you said that on Thursdays, starting April 2nd, but you didn't say the time.
5 to 9.
5 to 9?
5 to
Okay.
9 p.m. We have different things happening. We have things happening at the Whistler House. There are some events that we've coordinated with UMass Lowell. The galleries, the National Park Visitor Center is open late that night. And then all of our businesses who have joined us have specials going on too.
That's wonderful. I didn't even know that, so thank you very much.
Well,
We
I
didn't
hope
get-
you'll check it out and stop by
Right.
sometime.
Thank you.
Thank you
And
for
I'm
your-
sure the
thank you
city
for your
manager will
time.
put it on the city's website as well. I'm sure the city will put it on the website
It's on
as
the
well.
website.
It's on the website. Great, thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Andy? Thank you for being here.
Hi, Andy Jacobson. I'm the chair board for Cultural Organization of Lowell, as well as a downtown business, 61 Market Street, Brewed Awakening Coffee House. I guess my first comment is I'm really happy to hear sort of what the city councilor has proposed in regards with, first for the Spring Fling, a repackaging of events versus trying to create something totally new. I think the understanding the resources and financial aspect is big for that repackaging, and I think that's going to make it great. And also, for Councilman Samaris's view that, he loves to see an art festival happening. And again, the city council as a whole realizing that it's not something that unfortunately could happen within such a short period of time, and that it does take resources both from the organizations and the city to really put something successful together that's going to benefit the city. So I think that is extremely great to hear, and the momentum I think is positive and it's moving forward. And I just think that we should definitely look at the opportunities really quickly, because even if it is an August festival of next year, let's try to see and start planning so that organizations can help raise money and funding if they need to and find the resources and the artists. But from what I've heard, it is a little different than what I think we initially thought, where I think a couple of us thought we were looking to have something and everybody wanted to have something tomorrow. So it is nice to hear that, people are willing to allow us the time to really grow and make something positive. And then just a side comment, Rita, from what you were saying regarding with the businesses, I can actually talk to some of the businesses for that May 16th and see, if it's possible, maybe from a perspective of sidewalk sales, there is something that, again, businesses can put something out onto the streets, and see if what can happen. There may be some, we may need to work with the city because I know there are permits or something but at least let me see if we can reach out to the businesses and try to get their at least initial thought on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Andy. Councilor Leahy?
Yeah, thank you. Just on those comments, Andy, that's probably something that you could organize all summer long if you wanted. Sidewalk sales every weekend, I'm sure that's not too difficult to get some sort of permitting. We haven't really had that, so I don't know what's involved, but I would think any good weekend, any businesses that lined up or got involved and some musicians, some paintings on the sidewalk. I'm sure something like that, it's, you know, we all help in cleaning up and promoting it. I'm sure that's not a big production, but it's something and it gets people
Correct.
involved, so.
Yeah,
you
I
know,
mean,
we'd
it's
be willing
definitely
to work
something.
with you on that.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I think is worth looking into. You know, I think from the business perspective, they might have the same issues regarding resources and having someone man tables outside. But again, you know, it's small steps. If we can get some businesses out there, you know, that might be at least the first step. Plan again for next year, make it something really worthwhile and great. So it is, I agree, you know, more people outside, people seeing things is always going to be a good sign and make things a little bit more lively. So,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy. Welcome.
Hi, I'm John Wooding, UMass Lowell, and I was the former chair of COOL before Andy organised a coup. Not really. I'm really excited about the idea of an arts festival. I think it's visionary, I think it's great. But I want to tell you that when I was chair of COOL, I would frequently have what I considered to be brilliant big ideas, and then Susan Halter would give me a look. And that look was the right look, saying basically, that's a great idea, where the hell are we going to get the money from? Where are we going to get the resources? How are we going to do this? So I think I want to add to the cautions. This is a wonderful idea, but it takes time and it takes resources, and not only grant money. I think it needs a commitment from the city to do things like this, because if we do it in a poor way or a small way, it won't be very successful. And the last thing I really want to add to this is that whilst I entirely support it, I think there's two things we have to do. One is, first, we should go to the community and the community of artists. Lowell has over 600 artists in residence. They should be a part of shaping what this looks like. And the second thing is, having worked here for many, many years, both in the city and at the university, it's really important that we cast a festival like this that would be attractive to young people in the city. And by young people, I don't mean necessarily school children, I mean young people, and Susan's right, clearly the students that are at the university, but also the young people who are a very vibrant part of this. There's one thing I keep saying to myself is what Lowell needs to do most of all is to make it a place attractive to young people, because they're the people who are going to grow and build and get the jobs and come up with the technologies and think about these things. So those two things I think are critical, that you plan it carefully, you engage artists from the community and the rest of the community about how they want to shape this event, and most primarily, you do it in a way which will be attractive to young people, both within the community and outside of it. And lastly, but not least, you find a way to find resources, both in terms of money and staffing, to do the job right. This may take 2 or 3 years, and I hope I live long enough to see this be bigger than the folk festival. It would be wonderful to do that, but it takes a lot of time and planning. So thank you.
Thank you, John. Councilor Leahy?
John, would you mind? I just had a quick question. Now, I don't want to be naive to this, but when you say, you know, take our time planning it and getting the resources, I'm always one to just jump in. So kind of explain to me, like, what could go wrong if we just set up over at Lucy Larkham Park?
What could go wrong? Well, we have time.
Quick
What's for breakfast here? I'm not a negative person, and I said that comment about Susan glaring at me when I come up with brilliant ideas. I'm like you. I'm like, let's do this. How hard could it be, right? Yeah. Well, having done a number of these things, I realize how hard it can be. I think what Susan has developed here, which is to take what we already have and leveraging that in a modest way. I think building it around commencement is a great idea, because there's so many students now at the university. But planning it requires forming some kind of steering committee. It requires thinking about advertising, who's going to be there, location, do we cut off Palmer Street? All of those things begin to snowball. That's been my experience of this. Okay. And I've done many events at the university. We spend a lot, we did them quickly. We bring in some public speaker and we think everybody's going to show up, and we spend all this time organizing it and 3 people come. It's embarrassing. I've been embarrassed many times doing this. I think that this is probably at the minimum a 3-year project of organizing to get it really off the ground. I think starting like this and doing it for a couple of years is great, but I think a project like this will take that length of time to do properly. And I think it's visionary, so I think it's worth doing properly, and I think that's the key thing here. Does that answer your question?
Sure, yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for being here.
Hi, I'm Steve Severson. I'm the president of the Arts League of Lowell. I have a retail store as well, but that's a different subject. I want to counter John's opinion of a 3-year and think we could do it a little faster, but 18 to 20 months is probably logical. A little history on that, my thinking on that is 2005, I think it was, the Arts League of Lowell committee launched the idea of having a folk festival, and we did a lot of work on it. We applied for, received a grant from the Parker Foundation to run the art festival. And after about 3 or 5 months, I forget exactly how much, of dedicated effort in this, we realized that we couldn't pull it off in the time frame that we were looking for, and we were shooting for a year out. So we canceled the project, gave the money back to the Parker Foundation, and said we'll try again better later. And then things being as they are, we didn't get there until now. It's coming back to us. And it's sort of in conjunction with the Lowell Open Studios and the fact that we've been doing Lowell Open Studios for 13 years in the city. It started out with Middlesex Beat magazine launching it for the whole Middlesex County. And then 7 years ago, I think, we took it over as the Lowell Open Studios and managed it ourselves. That has been going along just fine, and we've been very successful. Up until last year and a little bit the year before that, things started to dwindle. The opinions of the artists is that it wasn't as valuable or as functional as it had been in the past. Why, we're not exactly sure. Maybe it's festival overload on the part of Arts Open Studios, because there's 1,000 open studios sometime between May and October in the state. So we decided just recently, in fact, the board of directors of the Arts League of Lowell, who effectively owns the event, decided that we would cancel open studios as we know it, and instead take from now until September next year to launch an arts festival, okay, and change the look of it, make it an arts festival. Susan had a great idea of, put the thing at Point Park where everybody can see it, and it kind of links Western Avenue with the downtown, and put a big tent up there and and banners and make a big deal out of it. And or extend it into the streets of the downtown. That becomes a little bit more of a logistic issue. But I think the important thing is that while I'm excited to know that the city manager has the spring fling idea to sort of get the ball rolling, that we step back and look at how much time this actually needs. We need months of preparation just to advertise the fact that we're going to have an arts festival. I mean, that's a minimum of 6 months advertising to get anybody to come to it. Folk Festival starts advertising the day after the Folk Festival. Also, the artists, many of the artists who would pitch a tent on the street to sell their wares, do so a year or two ahead. They work with arts festivals all over the state, all over the country, pack their tent in and go to locations, and they book themselves a year ahead, okay? Sometimes 2 or 3 years ahead, depending on the show. So we have to give the artists time to respond to this idea. Okay, we need to put out the word that we're going to have an arts festival in September, the end of September in 2016, and you'll be hearing about the opportunity to sign up in the coming months, whatever time frame that is. But the important thing is we need to spend at least this 18 months to successfully launch an arts festival, and maybe it's 3 years, like John says. I think a committee made up of the City Council Subcommittee and a committee of the artists and Cool all together could quickly define what we need to do to meet a schedule. Okay, if we do it badly, we will never get to do it again. That's my concern. And we need to spend the time thinking about this and move from there.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Good evening.
Hello, my name is Joe Pompey, and I am here representing the 300 artists at Weston Avenue Studios, which is that big building that we can't walk easily to, but that's a conversation for another day. I agree with much of what's been said. I love the idea of calling it a festival and not open studios. Open studios are happening all over. I'd like to think that we in Lowell have been a model for many other communities who are converting old mills into artist studios. I know there's one that just opened in Lawrence, which is quite beautiful. I think we're oversaturated now with open studios, the open studios concept. At Weston Avenue, we still have open studios the first Saturday of each month. So we were disappointed that the Lowell Open Studios is ending. And when you think about it, it doesn't really have that dramatic effect on us because we have open studios anyway. But I think one of the things that we have come to realize at Weston Avenue is that, yes, we might be the largest collection of artists in one location on the East Coast, maybe even east of the Mississippi. But we're part of a community, and we see as part of our responsibility to our other artists to reach out and to work with all of the artist venues in Lowell to make Lowell an arts destination that we'll all be the winners for it. Not just Weston Avenue, but we'll all be better for it. So I like the idea of a festival. We need to take our time and due diligence to make sure that we create a wonderful buzz. It's a success that people who have invested the time, effort, energies, and money in this first one see that it was worth it and want to do it again and again and again. So, I'd love to hop on the bandwagon and get something going sooner than later. I'm one of those guys who let's just do it and we'll figure it out as we go along. But it really has to be done and done well. Weston Avenue has a lot of resources that we would be willing to offer. One of the paintings, this one here, the snow scene, that was done by Dave Drynan, and we share Dave Drynan now between Whistler House and Weston Avenue. He's a great, I'm sure you folks know Dave, great ambassador for not only Weston Avenue and Whistler, but for the city of Lowell. So, I agree, we want to do something, we want to do something grand, we need to take our time. Should this be a community-run event, city-run event? I think it has to be a combination thereof. We need to really work together on it. You have resources that we need, that we don't have. I think that became apparent in terms of what happened with Lowell Open Studios. It became very dependent on just a core group of people. The old saying that 90% of the work is done by 10% of the people, and that's happened for a long time with Lowell Open Studios. So I think getting some support from the city and helping us to manage this, and obviously having input from the artists would be helpful. I live in Billerica, moved to Boston about 40 years ago, lived in Boston, then moved to Medford, then moved to Wilmington. I live in Billerica now, so I think my next stop is Lowell. So anyway, thank you for hearing us. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Mr. Arcella.
Hi, Peter Arcella, 30 Parkview Avenue, Lowell, with the Lowell National Park. First of all, I had to mention that when Celeste Bernardo, who is out of town right now, she is enthused about First Thursdays, in part because when she was superintendent of the New Bedford National Historical Park, Whaling National Historical Park, saw the events that happened on Thursdays in New Bedford. By the way, the name of their event was AHA, Art, History, and Architecture. It was brilliant, and it tells people, and of course, I think it's become a lot more. I think it's become food and many other things. We at the park are already very involved in the Doors Open programs, and we kind of brought the idea to Lowell. We borrowed it from Toronto. But by the way, it's been borrowed by others from us, New York City and Denver specifically. But we're involved in that. The visitor center serves as something of a base for that, where people can pick up the maps and whatnot. So I think about whatever is being proposed here, something where the visitor center might be a little bit of a base, if that's helpful and welcome. And the park, I'm sure, can participate on a committee, and we'll try to find whatever role it can. I'm sure we can help with promotion to some degree. And I just want to point out, David Blackburn is here, who is our Chief of Cultural Programming, and again, will be involved. So we'll look for a role. We'll try to be as helpful as we can, and whatever we can do for this May, we will do. And in terms of long-term thinking, we'll see where we can fit into that too. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, David. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Sarah Bogosian. I'm President and Executive Director of the Whistler House Museum of Art. First, I'd like to commend Mary Hart for the First Thursday program. We've been, last year we started the program. I think it was a success. The only problem was that the weather did not cooperate with us. I think we only had one night, right, Mary? Right. In September that it actually worked for all of us. But it does take a lot of planning, I must say. I am thrilled that, first of all, when some of the councilmen, Corey and Dr. Samaras, goodness gracious, sorry. I was thrilled that initially when they came to us and wanted to start something like this, we thought it was a wonderful step forward. But I do agree with everyone who has spoken this evening that we really do need time. I tend not to panic, but when I first found out that something was going to be done or something wanted to be done within a certain period of time, a couple of months, I just thought it was going to be much too much for any of us. All of us are already extremely busy with just running our own locations and our own venues. So I want to go on record as saying I do support a big art festival here in the city of Lowell. What I'd like to see, and to work with all the other art organizations in the city. What I would like to see, though, is for us to dress up a bit before we do anything like this, too. I think we can use this wonderful group of artists to help our Main Street and make some of those window treatments. I've been asking and talking about this for a while now. I know there's some funds available. I personally would work with you on trying to get that accomplished sooner than later. I think that just can help everyone, the businesses, the arts community, and put some of the artists to work, too, and help them with their finances. It's not easy for artists to make a living these days. But other than that, yes, I wholeheartedly support this. The Whistler House Museum of Art is behind it. We will do anything possible to make it successful, but again, we do need at least a good year to make this successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. The chair would like to recognize Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do like to thank all the speakers, some great input there, directly from the source. Thank you very much. But, you're listening to them, I understand, as being part of many festivals we have here in the city, I understand 60 days is nowhere near enough time to organize a large-scale artist festival. I understand that. I think that would be a mistake going forward, but it's also a mistake not to do anything, I feel, at the same time. Now, Susan Halter gave a good presentation here minutes ago on May the 16th. I think we have enough foundation there to run with it. But we do need, as Mary Hart alluded to, and I spoke earlier, we do need an artist component in there. I understand it's not going to be what we want it to be with the time constraints we're under, but they need an involvement. Our intent is only to give them a big stage, all the artists in the community, a big stage at no cost individually. That's our intent. So that I think could be successful, not to what we want, but we, at the same time, we could plan for a larger scale, roughly a year, 15 months from now. But I'd like to run with the 16th, what we have here, what was presented, add an artist component in there somewhere, a street closing venue if we could. Councilor Mercy alluded to tables, and Councilor Leahy about storefronts coming out in tables. So I'd like to, we can make this happen. Okay, so I'd like to see us go forward with a few extra things, table sales, artist component, along with we've seen. We can get it done, and it could be fairly successful, I have no doubt. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Belanger. Councilor Samaras?
Thank you, Chairman Milonazo. First of all, I want to thank the Subcommittee on Art and Culture for having this meeting. I want to thank everybody for coming here tonight. I want to make sure everybody understands, I'm not looking for an art festival tomorrow. I think right now what we've shown is that we have a city manager that's concerned about the arts and has done something about it to put something together with Sue Halter. In other words, they've made an initiative to make some connections and bring it about. The issue here is I don't want to have this a feel-good moment for tonight, that everything's okay. I would like to know that from this point, we're going to have a meeting where we can create a vision, a timeline, and a team to carry this off. Whether it's a year from now, 5 years from now, is not the point. The point is that we've discussed this over the years. It's about time that the rub hits the road, and we've got to put this together. So whatever it takes, I think everybody here knows that we're willing to do it. But I don't think anybody should fear that we want to push something down anybody's throat. What we want to do is we want to see it happen. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Samaras. At this point, the chair would like to entertain a motion from the subcommittee to endorse the presentation that we received tonight from the administration with added comments from Councilor Belanger, having an artist component to the best of our ability within a short time, and then to pick up on Councilor Samaras' and other comments that we, as a subcommittee, work with the Arts and Cultural Committee to actually begin planning an art festival for a year to 15 months from now, so that we don't lose the good feeling, if you will, that Councilor Samaras talks about this evening. So I would entertain that in the form of a motion.
I could not repeat that verbatim. So moved.
Thank you, Councilor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Chairman Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
3 yeas.
Thank you. Again, this concludes the subcommittee meeting. Again, thank you all for being here. We certainly appreciate you being here and all you do in the community. And I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Councilor Leahy, second by Councilor Mercy. We stand adjourned. Thank you so much.